Looking at the Mark Lasky case study, we'll scroll down and read the first question as always, and then we'll jump into the paragraph. Question 1. Which of the following rules with regard to the construction of binomial trees is least likely correct? So it looks like we're going to be looking at a few different rules up here, and then let's start reading till we get to those. Mark Lasky is a fixed income consultant at Black Wealth Management Company. Mark has had a very successful career in fixed income research. He explains the binomial method to value a bond in detail. He explains the process of constructing a binomial interest rate tree. He mentions that there are 3 rules to construct the tree. All right, here we go. We've got our 3 rules. So the interest rate should generate arbitrage-free values. Adjacent forward rates are 1 standard deviation apart, and the middle forward rate in a period is approximately equal to the implied 1 period forward rate for that period. So let's just make sure these line up with our answer. So we've got interest rate should generate arbitrage-free value. Adjacent forward rates are 1 standard deviation apart, and middle forward rate is approximately equal to the implied 1 period forward rate for that period. So these are exactly what's stated up here. So let's take a look at these. So A, interest rate should generate arbitrage-free values. Yes, they should generate arbitrage-free values. So that is a correct answer. And so to be clear, we're looking at least likely correct. So 2 of these are correct and 1 is not, and that'll be our answer. B, adjacent forward rates are 1 standard deviation apart. So this is not going to be correct. Adjacent standard deviations, and so to be clear, adjacent is kind of stating, so if we have a rate here and then we have our tree that goes up or down, adjacent is stating this rate and this rate, how far apart are those. So these are actually going to be 2 standard deviations apart. It's going to be 1 standard deviation to get to the middle rate, and then it's going to be another standard deviation to get all the way up to the top rate. So these are going to be 2 standard deviations apart, not 1. So it looks like B will be our answer. Let's just take a look at C though. The middle forward rate in a period is approximately equal to the implied 1 period forward rate for that period. That's also going to be an accurate rule or assumption for binomial trees. So we'll stick with answer B. Question 2. Based on Exhibit 1, what is the value of a 2-year 3% annual pay bond with a maturity value of $1,000? So let's scroll up and continue our reading. We left off here with those 3 rules in the last question. He then showcases the use of binomial methods. So we're going to be using the binomial method, it looks like, to calculate the value of a 2-year 3% annual pay bond using the following forward interest rates. So we've got year 0 at 3%, year 1 5.18%, and 2.25%. So it looks like these are what we're going to be using to kind of discount our values. And so essentially what that's going to look like, we're going to have $1,000 at maturity, so that'll be our year 2 value, plus we're getting a $30 coupon in that period. So in year 2, we're going to be discounting back the $1,000 plus that $30 at the these 2 different rates. So we're going to be discounting it back at the 5.18 and the 2.25. And then we're going to weight those by 50% each, and then add that to the cash flow in the first period, which is going to be that $30. And that'll just be discounted by the 3%. So basically we need to get the values that we get for year 2, which are going to be the upper and lower options. And then we're discounting these back to the first period. So we've got our 979.27, our 107.33. We're going to 50% weight these then in the first period to get our actual value. So you see we 50% weight these, discount them back by 1.03, which is this rate here. And then we add 30 discounted back at that same rate. Gets us to 993.5 for the current value of the bond, which would be answer A. Question 3. Which of the following comments with regard to arbitrage opportunity is least likely correct? Sorry. Comment 1, comment 2, or comment 3. So 2 of these comments are going to be correct and 1 will be an incorrect statement. So let's scroll up and we'll keep reading. We left off at the exhibit, so we'll start writing here. Mark has been invited to provide fixed income training to the graduating class of one of the leading business schools in the U.S. Mark starts his session by explaining the arbitrage-free valuation and binomial framework used by most of the investment research firms to identify mispriced securities in the fixed income space. He makes the following comments in regard to identification of mispriced securities. We've got our 3 comments here. Comment 1, arbitrage opportunities will never exist in a well-functioning market. Never is usually going to be a red flag. We can never be 100% certain that something won't happen. And so this is probably an inaccurate statement or not correct statement. So it looks like comment 1 may be our answer. Let's make sure comment 2 and 3 both look like they're correct statements. Comment 2, 2 securities that produce identical cash flows must have the same value in the absence of transaction costs. Yes, particularly for fixed income securities, if they have identical cash flows, they need to line up as the same value, or there's some arbitrage opportunity there. So comment 1 gives us a looks good, or comment 2 looks good. Comment 3, in a binomial interest rate tree, interest rates take 2 possible values based on the volatility assumption and an interest rate model. That's also a correct assumption. So if we look at Exhibit 1 as an example, we started at 3 and we went up to 5.8 in the up scenario, and we went down to 2.25 in the down scenario. If we had higher volatility, the spread on these 2 numbers would have been even greater. This might have been like 6.5, and this could have been 1. Or if the volatility was lower, then this could have been a tighter spread between these 2. So all that said, comment 1 looks inaccurate, comments 2 and 3 look good, so it looks like we can choose answer A. Comment 1 is least likely correct. All right, question 4. Based on Exhibit 2, is there an arbitrage opportunity? If so, what is the arbitrage profit? So we've got no, arbitrage, yes, because of the violation of dominance principle or for $5, or yes, because of the violation of value additivity principle, $5. All right, we left off at comment 3. Let's start reading here. After explaining the arbitrage-free valuation framework, he presents Exhibit 2, showcasing 2 hypothetical bonds, and asks students to calculate the arbitrage profit that can be made by combining securities such that there is no net cash outlay. So meaning that we can essentially go long one bond, short another bond, and we can go short one bond, use those proceeds to go long another bond. We don't have to put up any cash ourselves. The same company issues both Bond A and Bond B, so they have identical default risks. So Exhibit 2 is 1 year, 0 coupon option-free bonds. Bond A has a current price of $95, and B has a price of $950, so just difference in a 0 there essentially. Payoff in 1 year for Bond A is $100, and payoff for Bond B is $1,005. So we've got same price essentially here, but different payoffs, so it looks like there is an arbitrage opportunity. If we multiply Bond A by 10, we get a price of $950 and then a payoff of $1,000. So in Bond B, we're getting a payoff of $5 more. So it looks like we can go ahead and cross off A, that yes, there is an arbitrage profit opportunity. They both have $5 here. So we need to figure out whether this is dominance principle or value additivity principle. So this is going to follow the dominance principle, since the cash flows of B are going to dominate the cash flows of A. It would be fall under the additivity principle if we were more focused on the whole value of the bond, not kind of the cash flows and yield of the bond. So we can go ahead and choose answer B. Yes, there is arbitrage due to dominance principle.